We give praise, esteem, and honor to the Most High Yah by way of Yahweh Shah HaMashiach this day. John 5:39. Search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and there they which testify of me. And you will not come to me that you might have life. I receive not honor from men. Say, but I know you, that you have not the love of Elohim in you. If another shall come in his own name, him you shall receive. How can you believe which receive honor one of another and seek not the honor that come from Elohim only? Do not think that I will accuse you to Abba. There is one that accuse you, even Moses, in whom you trust. For had you believed Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote of me. But if you believe not his writings, how shall you believe my words? So let's take ourselves to John chapter 15. Cause we're talking about some wild stuff yesterday, wasn't seen over there, wasn't it? That's wild, boy. That's how they be living, though. John 15 and 12 is sufficient. Hey, Sugar Shirley. She's just a baby. She's just a baby. This is my commandment, that you love one another as I've loved you. Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lays down his life for his friends. You are my friends if you do whatsoever I command you. Henceforth I call you not servants, for the servant know not what his master do, but I've called you friends. For all things that I have heard of my Abba I have made known unto you. You have not chosen me, but I have chosen you and ordained you, that you should go and bring forth fruit, and that your fruit should remain, that whatsoever you shall ask of Abba in my name, he may give it to you. Now he say that he chose them. They didn't. Go sit down. There's nothing over here for you. That we did not choose him. That word for chosen, we'll go ahead and pull it right now. Numbers chapter 16. Put that notepad back on that table, son. That don't belong to you. It's number 16 and 1. Now Korah, the son of Izhar, the son of Kohath, the son of Levi, and Dathan, and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, and On, the son of Pelath, sons of Reuben, took men. And they rose up before Moses with certain of the children of Yasharal, 250 princes of the assembly, famous in the congregation, men of renown. And they gathered themselves together against Moses and against Aaron, and said unto them, You take too much upon you, seeing all the congregation of Kadash, every one of them, and Yahuwah is among them. Wherefore then lift up yourselves above the congregation of Yahuwah. And when Moses heard it, he fell upon his face. And he spake unto Korah and to all his company, saying, Even tomorrow Yahuwah will show who are his, and who is Kadash, and will cause him to come near unto him, even him whom he have chosen will he cause to come near unto him. The word for chosen is bakar. That means to choose, to elect, or to decide for. The bat, the kot, the raj. And that's the chief will separate one to enter into the house. So we dealt with being called. Now we're looking at being chosen. When you're chosen, this man is going to separate you to enter into his house. Why is that important? Psalm 65. She don't want it. No, clearly she doesn't. Psalm 65 and 1. Psalm 65 and 1. Praise waiteth for thee, O Elohim in Zion. Unto thee shall the vow be performed. O thou that hear prayer, unto thee shall all flesh come. Listen to this, right? Praise waits for Elohim, and it waits for him in Zion, and unto him will vows be performed. This is where he say that he hears prayers and all flesh is going to come unto him. Now let's sit back and let's look at that. All flesh is going to come see this man. Let's look at Isaiah 66 first. You can hold Psalm 65. From Isaiah 66, we're going to take a look at a couple places. Probably Micah, then Revelation. I just want to paint the picture for you. Just paint it. You know. Isaiah 66, verse 21. Sire, you need to be quiet. You're being very, very rude. You're being rude. And I will also take of them for priests and for Levites, saith Yahuwah. For as the new Shamahim and new Arats which I will make shall remain before me, saith Yahuwah, so shall your seed and your name remain. And it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and one Shabbat to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me, saith Yahuwah. And they shall go forth and look upon the carcasses of the men that have transgressed against me, for their worm shall not die, neither shall their fire be quenched, and they shall be an abhorring unto all flesh. Now let's take a look at something, right? Let's look at where he's referencing. Well, let's get another witness for where he's referencing. Ezekiel 46. This is just for somebody who may not be aware of this. It said all flesh is going to come up to him and worship him and praise him. All of this flesh that's coming up to worship and praise him, they definitely have been chosen. That's why they're in the kingdom. Because he's going to separate you to enter into his house. I know, Shirley, I know. It's 46 and 1 of Ezekiel. Thus saith Yahuwah Elohim, the gate of the inner court that look towards the east shall be shut the 6 working days. But on Shabbat it shall be open, and the day of the new moon it shall be open. And the prince shall enter in by the way of the porch of that gate without, and shall stand by the post of the gate. And the priest shall prepare his burnt offering and his peace offerings, and he shall worship at the threshold of the gate. Then shall he go forth, and the gate shall not be shut until the evening. Likewise, the people of the land shall worship at the door of this gate before Yahuwah and Shabbat and the new moon. I want y'all to keep that in mind, because that's going to come up again, y'all willing, real soon. Sooner than you can imagine. And the burnt offering that the prince shall offer unto Yahuwah and Shabbat shall be 6 lambs without blemish, and a ram without blemish, and so on and so forth. So all the people of the land, we could drop down to verse 9, because it's got more as regards as we discussing with that. But when the people of the land shall come before Yahuwah in the solemn feast, he that enter in by the way of the north gate to worship shall go out by the way of the south gate. He that enter in by the way of the south gate shall go forth by the way of the north gate. He shall not return by the way of the gate whereby he came, but he shall go forth over against it. And the prince of the midst of them, when they shall go in, and when they shall go forth, when they go forth, shall go forth. Now, why do we read that part? Because it's mentioned in the feast days. Again, that will come up sooner than you can imagine. Everybody that's in the land has to come up for this. Matter of fact, let's get another witness. Zechariah chapter 14. And a reminder, y'all know that trumpets is Sunday night. Please be prepared. You should have already known it. You know, we come to remind us, but everybody grown. You should keep up with this type of stuff. Especially when you say this is what you want to do. Because you should be looking forward to it, truth be told. Zechariah 14, verse 16. Let's get a third witness. I really got 2 more witnesses before I even get to the New Testament, and I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to exhaust all of them before we get there. And it shall come to pass that everyone that is left of the nations which came against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the Malek, Yahuwah of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. And it shall be that whoso will not come up of all the families of the earth unto Jerusalem to worship the Malek, Yahuwah of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain. And if the family of Mizraim go not up and come not, that have no rain, there shall be a plague whereof Yahuwah will smite the heathen that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. This shall be the punishment of Mizraim and the punishment of all the nations that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. And that day shall there be upon the bells of the horses. Kadoshness unto Yahuwah, and the pots of Yahuwah's house shall be like the bowls before the altar. Yea, every pot in Jerusalem and Yehuda shall be Kadosh unto Yahuwah of hosts. And all they that sacrifice shall come and take of them and seethe therein. And that day there shall be no more the Kenite in the house of Yahuwah of hosts. So every single solitary individual, they got to come up. Remember now, praise is to Elohim and Zion. He is the hearer of all prayers, and all flesh got to come worship him. Now let's take a look at another witness. The book of Micah, 4th chapter. You must have thoroughly liked those, Shirley, because you ate them all. Four and one, Micah 4:1. I'm sorry. Hi. Micah 4:1. But in the last days it shall come to pass that the mountain of the house of Yahuwah shall be established in the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and people shall flow unto it. And many nations shall come and say, Come, let us go up to the mountain of Yahuwah, into the house of the Elohim of Jacob, and he will teach us his ways. We will walk in his paths. For the Torah shall go forth out of Zion, and the word of Yahuwah from Jerusalem. And he shall judge among many people, and rebuke strong nations afar off. And they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war any more. But they shall sit every man under his vine and under his fig tree, and none shall make them afraid. For the mouth of Yahuwah of hosts hath spoken it. For all the people will walk, every one in the name of his God, and we will walk in the name of Yahuwah Elohim forever and ever. Every single solitary individual, you're going to have to come. Keep this in mind. Keep this in mind. Let's take ourselves to the book of Revelation. This is why he tells you that every knee is going to bow and every tongue is going to confess. Because everybody going to do it. You can do it willingly or you can do it by force, but you're going to do it. Revelation chapter 7, we'll read verse 7. No, not verse 7. We'll start at 9. After this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues, and stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms in their hands, and cried with a loud voice, saying, Salvation to our Elohim, which sit upon the throne, and unto the Lamb. All the Malachim stood round about the throne and about the elders and the four beasts, and fell before the throne on their faces and worshiped Elohim, saying, Amen, Baruch, and esteem, and wisdom, and thanksgiving, and honor, and power, and might be unto our Elohim forever and ever. You see the element of praise of what we read in Psalm 65. And one of the elders answered, saying unto me, What are these which are arrayed in white robes, and whence came they? And he said unto me, Sir, thou know. And he said to me, These are they which came out of great tribulation, and have washed their robes, and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. Therefore are they before the throne of Elohim, and serve him day and night in his temple. And he sit on the throne, and shall dwell among them. They shall hunger no more, neither thirst any more, neither shall the sun light on them, nor any heat. For the Lamb which is in the midst of the throne shall feed them, and shall lead them unto living fountains of waters, and Elohim shall wipe away all tears from their eyes. Remember what we talked about tribulation last week. Let me pull that word for you. I got it right here for you. I think I got it right here. No, I ain't got it right here. That's what we did the other day. It might be right here. Yeah, we do. There we go. We got tribulation. Sarah, right? Remember that? Distress, trouble, and vex. And the sod, the rosh, and the hay. And that tribulation caused you to behold. You know what I'm saying? That pull one towards the highest. These are those who came up out of great tribulation, and their robes were washed and were made white in the blood of the Lamb. So we see that. Keep this in mind, because it's going to something else. We notice that when you look at those who happen to be chosen, they happen to be chosen and they end up having to go through some manner of tribulation. You end up being called, you end up being troubled. And this is what is going to lead to the last part that we're going to look at, which leads you to being faithful. And this because that tribulation pulled you to Elohim. See, when he chooses you, he's going to choose you to suffer. See, some people don't suffer because he ain't chose you. And I'm talking about suffering for the word's sake, not suffering because of your own bad judgments, indecisions, transgressions, and sins. That's not what I'm talking about. We already know that. We done went over that in Peter. So you know that. If you get bashed upside your head and you know you've been sinning lately, hey, little Shirley, that ain't no tribulation that he pulling you towards him. He can pull you towards him for tribulation now. Don't get it twisted. For sin. Don't get it twisted, because he did it with Manasseh. We was just talking about this the other day with accountability in the word. Accountability in the word ain't standing up saying, I'm wrong. I did wrong. That is accountability, but Yah holds you accountable in this fashion. When this man teach you the word and you know the word and you go contrary to it, then his judgment is your accountability. His wrath on your head is accountability. Wrath not necessarily meaning that you're going to die, because Manasseh did not die. David, who was held accountable, he knew he had no business sleeping with Bathsheba. And what did he do? He killed that baby. He put a sword in this man's house, and he took all his wives from him. And that was his accountability. That's how he held him accountable. Yah holds you accountable when you know. So when you know better, you certainly better do better, or he gonna check you about it. And you don't want that man to check you. So it better just to do better from the jump street. Nevertheless, come over here to Revelation chapter 12. 12 and 7 is sufficient. Hey, Sugar Shirley, you just a baby. You not a baby? Yeah, you're a baby. And there was war in Shamahim. Mikael and his Malachim fought against the serpent, and the serpent fought in his Malachim, and prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in Shamahim. And the great serpent was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Hashatan, which deceived the whole world. He was cast into the rats, and his Malachim were cast out with him. And I heard a loud voice saying in Shamahim, now is come salvation and strength, and the kingdom of our Elohim, and the power of his Mashiach. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before Elohim day and night. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb, and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives to the death. See, those that are chosen, notice he said those were those that they washed their robes in the blood of the Lamb. They overcame. 1 John 5 and 4 tells us what? Who is he that overcometh? But he that believed that Yahushua is the son of Elohim. This is the victory, even our faith. Because if you believe Yahushua is the son of Elohim, then you believe that he overcame death, which means you believe he rose from the dead. What goes back to the conversation we just had the other day. Do you really believe this man died and resurrected from the dead? Do you really believe that? Because if you don't believe that, you have no faith, and you certainly have no victory. So there would be no way that you would be able to wash your robes in his blood to come through our great tribulation, because you wouldn't have the faith to endure to be able to be pulled towards Elohim. I know, church. I know. So you want to be pulled towards the highest. I would hope that's what you want to do. Those who are chosen will suffer tribulation so they can be pulled towards the highest. Straight up and down. Because that's what it's going to do. Tribulation is going to pull you to him. That's why we was talking about that last week, about being patient in tribulation. Job was chosen. He was patient in tribulation and pulled him towards the highest. You seen what happened. You know what James wrote. Look at the patience of Job. The Elohim is pitiful and full of mercy. Got to remember that. Let's go to I'ma wait. Psalm 65. Let's go back to Psalm 65. We read verse 1 again, right? Praise, wait for thee, O Elohim in Zion, unto thee shall the vow be performed. And we seen that, both ends. O thou that hear prayer, unto thee shall all flesh come. And we just seen that all flesh shall come. We know he hear prayer because we started that in John 15. Remember, we talked about that last week in regards to prayer as well. To be instant in prayer, to pray without ceasing. Elohim hear prayers, the prayers of the righteous. His ears are always open to him. His ears ain't open to people who don't believe. Pause. James chapter 2, I'll show you why I say that. James 1, not chapter 2. James 1. See, a lot of people are faithless and unbelieving, and yet have the nerve and gall and audacity to ask Yah for something. Why would you ask somebody for something you don't even believe gonna give it to you? Well, aren't you happy this evening? 1 and 2, James 1 and 2. My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into diverse temptations, knowing this, that the trying of your faith work patience. But let patience have a perfect work, that you may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of Elohim, that give to all men liberally and upbraid not, and it shall be given him. But let him ask in faith, nothing wavering, for he that wavers like the wave of the sea, driven with the wind and tossed. For let that man think that he shall receive anything of the master. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. A lot of people look at being double-minded in a lot of ways, but being double-minded is having a mind of doubt. You don't believe in Yah. That man said, don't think that man going to give you something because you asked him for it. Because you toss to and fro. Will Yah do it? Will he won't do it? Don't you know that anything that is not of faith is sin? You have to remember that. A heart that lacks faith is a sinful heart. I told you that last week. An unbelieving heart is the most wicked, evil mind you can have. You know what I'm saying? It's worse than lust. It's worse than pride. It's worse than covenant. It's worse than breaking the Shabbat. It's worse than all of that because you do not believe that Yah is and a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. That's right, Shirley. That's right. Come on back to Psalm 62. You tell him, Shirley. 65, I'm sorry. We're in 65 and 3. Iniquity shall prevail against me. As for our transgressions, thou shalt purge them away. Look at the thing that he's mentioning as he's going into this here when you're looking at people who are chosen, because the chief is separating you to the house. So he's telling you that iniquities have prevailed against you. But those transgressions, Yah will purge away. So, what's the direction that we will want to take with that? I could keep it simple. I probably will. Romans 6 and 16. You know, we know the book say that the soul that sin, it shall die. Ezekiel 18 and 4. You sin, you die. After we, I just was like, so sit back and look at that. Praise is it for Elohim in Zion. Unto him will the vow be performed. And what is the vow? Well, he vowed to make Yahushua a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. He vowed to raise this man from the dead. Now, follow me because we got some things that we're going to look at as forth as dealing with remnant as well, because those who are part of the remnant, which we're going to establish, are those who have been chosen. If you are part of the remnant or the part that's left behind, you were chosen. And we're going to see that and we're going to establish that. Yah willing, of course. Romans 6 and 16. Make it 6 and 15. Because that ain't never hurt nobody. What then shall we sin? Because we are not under Torah, but under great Elohim forbid. Now let's just establish this for y'all. When he say under law, he's not talking about the Torah. He's talking about the exact same thing that I just mentioned to y'all, which is Ezekiel 18 and 4. The soul that sinned, it shall die. Because the Mashiach has come to purge these transgressions, which we're about to get to in just a moment. That therefore removes Ezekiel 18 and 4, and also removes that if you eat of this tree, you shall surely die. Because when you violate the commandment of Elohim, that brings forth death. So because of the favor and the mercy, because remember we talked about that last week, that Moses brought Torah, but Yahushua brought mercy and faith. Now you are not under the penalty of death because of this man's sacrifice if you believe, keyword, if you believe and obey. So if you have believed, shall you sin because of this mercy? Elohim said no. Know you not that to whom you yield your servants to obey, his servants ye are to whom you obey, whether a sin unto death or of obedience unto righteousness. So you got to understand that. He that commits sin is the servant of sin. So whatever you yield yourself to, that is your God. That is your Abba. That is your ruler. That is going to dictate who you serve. If you yield yourself to sin, it doesn't matter if it's just a little bit of sin. Nigga, Satan is your head, nigga. That's where you lend your members to. So remember, you can't be lukewarm, you gotta be hot or cold. You know what I'm saying? A little bit of sin mean a whole lot of Satan. Because the book said a little leaven leaveneth the whole lump. You got to remember that. A little bit of sin mean a whole lot of Satan. Because he that commits sin is of the devil. Now we have to let that there gestize in our brain. Look how sure it just look. That's just appalling. Ain't that appalling? They living like that, surely. Say God forbid. I know. Shirley sad now. She didn't like that. She said that ain't right. And it ain't. And we shouldn't think that way. That a little bit of sin is okay. A little bit of unbelief is okay. We shouldn't think that way. We say, but Elohim be thanked that ye were the servants of sin, but you have obeyed from the heart the form of doctrine which was delivered you, being made free from sin, you became the servants of righteousness. So he's purged this transgression. You had your iniquities was above you, but this man has came and he has purged this transgression because now you're being made free from sin. So when you're free from sin, that's why you're not under the law in the reference of what he's referring to. You're not under what the law says. You sin, you die. Now you can be the servants of faith or the servants of Hamashiach. Isaiah 53 told you clearly. The knowledge of my righteous servant will justify many. Your justification is in your faith. That's what justified Abraham. We have no justification in the law. That doesn't mean if you keep the law that you're not a righteous individual, but that's not your justification. Your justification is in your faith in Elohim. Let's take ourselves to John 15.
Sure, you finna go to bed.
John 15. I just want verse, we'll pick it up at 19. If you were of the world would love its own. But because you are not of the world, but I've chosen you out of the world, therefore the world hates you. Remember the word that I said unto you, the servant is not greater than his master. And if they persecuted me, they will also persecute you. And if they have kept my saying, they will keep yours also. So another thing that we look at too, let's back that up. Because let's back this up to 18. Because we already read in 16 that Yahushua chose his apostles. And we are going to look at another identifying mark of what can be shown unto you if you happen to be chosen. He said, if the world hates you, you know that it hated me before it hated you. If you were of the world would love his own. But because you are not of the world, but I have chosen you out of the world, therefore the world hates you. So remember, when the chief apostle, like we read in Hebrews 3 last week, when the chief apostle and high priest of our faith has picked you out of the world, that means he has separated you to enter into his house. This is going to bring about what is in our law in Genesis 3 and 16, that there'll be enmity between the woman's seed and the serpent's seed. The same way that the carnal mind is enmity with the law of Elohim, it is not subject to it, neither indeed can be, because those who are of Elohim will never be able to meet an agreement with carnal-minded people. That's going to be impossible. Carnal and spiritual don't mix. They are diametrically opposed to one another. This is why Paul wrote in Galatians that the flesh lusteth against the Ruach and to stop you from doing the thing that you ought to do. This is why Hamashiach told you the Ruach is willing, but the flesh is weak. These two things don't meet in agreement. They don't meet in harmony. This is why he told you not to be unequally yoked with unbelievers. Because ain't no agreement between light and darkness. Ain't no agreement between Hamashiach and Belial. You can't be agreed with Elohim and be carnal. That's why he say, greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. You have to look at that. You have to swallow that pill. If you really chosen and separated to be entered into his house, there cannot be tacit agreement and enjoyment and strong fellowship with carnal-minded people, because these two mentalities are opposed to one another. They can't meet in harmony and agreement. They can't. If they can meet in harmony and agreement, Yah is a liar. Because right there in the beginning of the book, he said it's hatred between the woman's seed and the serpent's seed. This is why he said, I've chosen you out of the world, and the world has hated you. This is why it's important that we pay attention to what's written in the law. Because when we come back and look at the stuff on the back end, then we see why he says what he says. Because he is that woman's seed. Pause. We'll show you he the woman's seed. Just follow what I'm telling you. I'm trying to tell you what's right so you can save your soul. Believe what y'all say was right, because the word is right. Back to Revelation 12. The word is right. The word of Yahuwah is always right. He ain't never wrong. 12 and 4 though. Make it 12 and 1. Start it right from there. And there appeared a great wonder in Shamahim, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she, being with child, cried, travailing in birth and pain to be delivered. And there appeared another wonder in Shamahim, and behold, a great red serpent, having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns upon his heads, and his tail drew the third part of the stars of Shamahim, and did cast them to their racks. And the serpent stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. And she brought forth a man-child, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron, and her child was caught up unto Elohim and to this throne. And the woman fled into the wilderness, and where she had a place prepared of Elohim, they should feed her there 1,260 days. So we see this here, that this serpent wanted to devour the man-child. When we drop ourselves down to verse 16, we're going to see why. And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood which the serpent cast out of his mouth. And the serpent was wroth with the woman, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of Elohim, and have the testimony of Yahushua HaMashiach. So come back to John 15. So we seen something in Revelation. We seen that this serpent wanted to destroy the woman who was having the child, and then because he couldn't destroy the man-child, he wanted to destroy the remnant of her seed. This man was wroth. Wrath is anger or hatred. So you see enmity between the woman's seed and the serpent's seed. This is why he say, I've chosen you out of the world, therefore the world have hated you. You cannot say you are a son or daughter of Elohim and you a spiritual person and you meet in harmony and agreement with carnal-minded people, because at that point you are saying that Yahuwah is a liar. You're saying that he is a liar. Because that's what our laws say. That's not how I feel. That's not what I think. That's not my opinion. This is the word of Yahuwah. Now your Savior just told you, because he chose you out of the world hates you. Well, why does the world hate you? Because the Ruach of truth, or the Spirit of truth, they cannot receive, because they neither known him or seen him. Well, why they don't know him or see him? Because they are carnally minded. Carnally minded is death. What brings death? Sin. Sin makes you of the devil. The devil is the serpent's seed. Therefore, it's going to be hatred between the woman's seed and the serpent's seed. Simple as that. Don't matter if they say, I know I'm a Hebrew, I keep the Sabbath, they could still be the serpent's seed. Don't be no fool. Because the people who was hating them were people who said, Paul, come over here to John 16 and 1. I'll just show you why I say it. It's just right here. We ain't got to go that far. And we can go to Isaiah 65 and see it again. And we shall. And we shall. These things have I spoken unto you, that you should not be offended. So he's telling them this here ahead of time. So they're not even offended by it. They shall put you out of the synagogues. Yea, the time come that whosoever kill you will think that he do Elohim service. And these things will they do unto you, because they have not known Abba nor me. Synagogue. This ain't no Christian church these people talking about putting you out of. These ain't the world. These ain't sinners in the world who gonna put you out and kill you and thinking they doing Elohim service. These are people who saying Yah is your Elohim. Yah is our Elohim. We serve the same God. We believe the same thing. He said they're going to put you out and they're going to kill you. because there's enmity between the woman's seed and the serpent's seed. People may believe it, they may not believe it, but it is what it is. Back to John chapter 15. 15 and 20. Remember the word that I said unto you, the servant is not greater than his master. If they've persecuted me, they will also persecute you. If they've kept my saying, they will keep yours also. But for all these things will they do unto you for my name's sake, because they know not him that sent me. If I had not come and spoken unto them, they had not had sin, but now they have no cloak for their sin. He that hate me, hate my Abba also. If I had not done among them the works which none other man did, they had not had sin, but now they have both seen and hated both me and my Abba. Why do we read this? Because he said he came to do the work, that sin would no longer remain, that there would no longer be a cloak or a cover for sin. So he let them know, I'm coming to purge it. Now he's really stating this here because he know that these men hate Yah. But we really came here to focus on the fact that this man coming, that he was saying that he came to purge sin, to purge it. Because once sin is purged, death is purged. And when death is purged, life can exist. Romans chapter 5. Romans 5 and 15. Well, we'll read Romans 5 and 7 and then move to 15. Work our way to it. Make it 5 and 6. For when we were yet without strength in due time, Amashiach died for the ungodly. For scarcely for a righteous man will one die, yet peradventure for a good man some would even dare to die. But Elohim commend his love towards us, and that while we were yet sinners, Hamashiach died for us. Much more then, being now justified by his blood, we shall be saved from wrath through him. For if when we were enemies, we were reconciled to Elohim by the death of his son, much more being reconciled, we shall be saved by his life. Verse 15. For not as the offense, so also is the free gift. If through the offense of one many be dead, much more the con of Elohim and the gift by con, which is by one man, Yahushua HaMashiach, have abounded unto many. And it's not as was by one that sinned, so is the gift. For the judgment was by one to condemnation, but the free gift is of many offenses unto justification. For if by one man's offense death reigned by one, much more they which receive abundance of con and the gift of righteousness shall reign in life by one Yahushua HaMashiach. Therefore, as by offense of one judgment came upon all men to condemnation, even so by the righteousness of one the free gift came upon all men unto justification of life. For as by one man's disobedience many were made sinners, so by the obedience of one shall many be made righteous. Moreover, the Torah entered that the offense might abound, but where sin abound, grace did much more abound. That as sin had reigned unto death, even so might grace reign through righteousness unto eternal life by Yahushua HaMashiach our master. What does that mean? Because Adam committed a sin and therefore passed death down to everyone in his lineage because of his disobedience. The obedience of one man had a wellspring of everlasting life. And let's get this John 4, because I meant to get it when we read it the first time, when he told you that the people who with him would never thirst. John chapter 4. This hit my mind the other day. And he telling you because of this, now all of you are made righteous through him for eternal life, the justification of your sins, because the atonement has been made. Because this man has laid down his life. Therefore your iniquities have been purged. Because your iniquities have been purged by his blood. Now you can now live forever. John chapter 4. I'm sorry. John chapter 4, verse 13. We'll make it verse 9. Then saith the woman of Samaria unto him, how is it thou, being a Yahudim, ask drink of me, which am a woman of Samaria, for the Yahudim have no dealings with the Samaritans. Yahusha answered and said unto her, if thou knew the gift of Elohim, and who it is that saith to thee, give me to drink, thou would have asked of him, and he would have given thee living water. The woman saith unto him, Sir, thou hast nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. From whence thence hast thou that living water? Art thou greater than our Abba Jacob, which gave us the well, and drank thereof himself, and his children, and his cattle? Yahusha answered and said unto her, whosoever drink of this water shall thirst again. But whosoever drink of the water that I shall give him shall never thirst. But the water that I shall give him shall be in him a well of water springing up into everlasting life. Remember, all those people who are with him are chosen. Don't forget that. They were called and they were chosen and they were shown to be faithful. If we was to take a good look, and y'all will and we will, at every individual in this book who have been chosen, they were called and they were faithful. They met all three of those. They were called and they were faithful. They were called and they were faithful. Let's go back to Psalm 65. and 3 one more time. Iniquities prevail against me, and we just seen that. Sin prevailed against us. Because sin brought death, it won. It was when, in the book of Ecclesiastes, it said there's no discharge in the war between death. There's no war, there's no win in that battle. See, we don't sit back and look at that. Iniquities prevailing against me. For our transgressions thou shalt purge them away. Pause. Hebrews chapter 10. Like, we have to sit back and look at that. Sin wins. Because you have to die because of it. Shalom, brother. Shalom. How you doing? Like, sin wins. But this man came. That's why he said, who is he that overcome the world, but he that believe that Yahusha is the son of Elohim? This is our victory, even our faith. This is how you prevail. Iniquity prevailed, but because of this one man offering his life, he prevailed over sin and death so that your iniquities could be purged. You have to keep that in mind. You have to remember, see the thing that what we be messing up at is we actually, one, we're not used to hearing the good news. I tell you this all the time because you're coming at people with law. That's not good news. That's condemnation. So it don't give people strength to believe to overcome. Because faith is not being imparted, and the good news of the mercy and forgiveness and redemption and reconciliation that Elohim has towards his people is not preached. That's why people don't hold on. I know some people like, man, you tell people they going to hell. Yeah, you sure they're going. You disobey the word. We can tell you both. Nigga, you can't chew gum and walk at the same time, can't you? You do put peanut butter with your jelly, don't you? The book do say the severity. Praise y'all. Did the book tell you that you need to know the severity and goodness of Elohim? You need to know both. It wouldn't be go good to tell you about all the goodness and you out of pocket.
Where's her at?
In Romans 11 to be specific. I get it for you right now. Come on over here to Romans chapter 11. Romans 11 and 18. Boast not against the branches, but if thou boast, thou bear not the root, but the root thee. Thou wilt say then the branches were broken off, that I might be grafted in. Well, because of unbelief they were broken off. And thou stand by faith. Be not high-minded. For if Elohim spare not the natural branches, take heed lest he also spare not thee. Behold, therefore, the goodness and severity of Elohim on them which fell. Severity, but towards thee goodness. And if thou continue in his goodness, otherwise thou also shalt be cut off. And they also, if they abide not still in unbelief, shall be grafted in, for Elohim was able to graft them in again. See, a lot of people don't like to deal with that fact, man. Yeah, you got to do what you got to do. That man will cut you off. Now, what was he telling them? Because Yasharal was stupid, they were cut off. So that was the severity, and the goodness was showed because this allowed the Gentiles and the nations to be grafted in. But he told them, but nigga, if you don't believe, he'll cut your stinking behind off too. You see, people don't like to hear that because that don't make them feel good. Hebrews chapter 10. We trying to tell you what the word says forth is holding you accountable before you do something stupid. Better we tell you with the word that you correct yourself with the word than to do something stupid and y'all get you. Shoot, let the word get you before y'all get you. Because you ain't going to like it when he gets you. I need Romans 9. I didn't need Romans 10. I mean Hebrews 10.
Romans 9, Hebrews 9.
I need Hebrews 9. Hebrews 9 and 11.
Come on, Mark.
But Amashiach being become a high priest of good things to come, by a greater, more perfect tabernacle not made with hands, that is to say, not of this building, neither by the blood of goats and calves, but by his own blood, he had entered in once into the cottage place, having obtained eternal redemption for us. For if the blood of bulls and of goats and of ashes of a heifer sprinkling the unclean, sanctified to the purifying of the flesh, how much more shall the blood of Amashiach, who the eternal Ruach offered himself without spot to Elohim, purge your conscience from dead works to serve the living Elohim? This man is supposed to be purging your conscience from dead works and also purging you from your sins. See, a lot of people feel like Jesus died for future, past, and present sins. That's a bunch of baloney that somebody pulled out of their rectum because that's not in this book. That man died for what? The sins of Yasharal, so that they could be purged, that men could repent and sin no more, and their soul could be saved. He didn't die for some sins you were going to do in the future. He didn't even die for the sins you were doing in the moment. He died for sins so that you could be forgiven and that this man is not the minister of sin. This man ain't taught you nothing about no sinning. That man told you, Paul wrote to the people, he said, clear day, man. You ain't heard of a Mashiach, you living like that. If you've been taught of him and you done heard of him, you ain't doing nothing like that. The living Elohim and his son are not with sin. They are not with it. They don't stamp it. They ain't cool with it. And I tell you like this here, don't flirt with it. Don't entertain it. Don't play with it. Because if you play with sin, it's going to be ugly for you. Don't open that door. Shut that door. Leave it shut. Matter of fact, let's read this here real quick. Genesis chapter 4 before we come back to Psalm 65. This is what happened when you play and entertain with sin. Now, don't play with it. Don't entertain it. Genesis 4, verse 5, I suppose. He said, but unto Cain and to his offering he had not respect, and Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. Yahuwah said unto Cain, why art thou wroth, and why is thy countenance fell? If thou do well, shalt thou not be accepted. But if thou do not well, sin lie at the door, and unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over. Sit back and not do well if you want to. Play with it if you want to. It's lying right at the door. It's lying right at the door. And then you play with it, you're gonna yield after your desire. And that's why he sat back and told you, he that commits sin is deserving of sin. Because that's what's gonna rule over you. That's why he came to tell you, he came to set you free. I always say your iniquities prevail, but he done came to purge your transgressions. He came to set you free. He came to give you the victory. Matter of fact, Romans chapter 7. Poop, poop, poop. You say, doop, doop, doop. That crazy wow. 7:21, Romans 7:21. I promise y'all will, and we'll get back to Psalm 65 in a moment. Shoot, man, I can't get that jump from up on that, man. You're going to have to move that chair and get that yourself. Yeah, possibly. I find then the Torah that when I do good, evil is present with me. For I delight in the Torah of Elohim after the inward man. But I see another Torah in my members, war against the Torah in my mind, bringing me into the captivity of the Torah of sin, which is in my members. O wretched man that I am, who shall deliver me from the body of this death? I thank Elohim through Yahushua HaMashiach, our master. So then with the mind, I myself serve Torah of Elohim, but with the flesh, the Torah of sin. Meaning I'm going to die. Because ain't nothing good in the flesh. And look what he's telling you. Iniquity prevailed against me, but my sin been purged. There is a way for me to be delivered. There is a victory. There is a victory. Elohim has given us the victory. The question is, will you play on the winning team? Or are you just storing up information just to store it up? That is the question. That is the question. Psalm 65, that is the question. Psalm 65 and 4. Baruch is the man whom thou choose and cause to approach unto thee, that he may dwell in thy courts. We shall be satisfied with the goodness of the house, even of thy Kadosh temple. He said, blessed is the man who he calls to approach unto him. Remember, right? You chosen, you Bakar, you the chief. The chief has separated you into the house. We looked at Paul the other day. He said, you know, I've chosen thee, so that you may see that just one and know his will. He told him he's a chosen vessel unto me. I separate. See, look at the statement Paul made. Galatians chapter 1. That's one of the examples we're looking at somebody who's been chosen. Paul is one. He chosen. The apostles are some. We'll look at those too. Take a different try. Galatians chapter 1. Sit back and see what I want, how I want to do it, how I want to do it, how I want to do it, how I want to do it. Galatians chapter 1, verse 11. And then we'll go to Romans 1 after that. But I certify you, brethren, that the Basar or gospel or Basora, which was preached of me, is not after man. I neither received it of man, neither was I taught it, but by the revelation of Yahushua HaMashiach. For you have heard of my conduct in times past in the Yahudim's religion, how that beyond measure I persecuted the house of Elohim and wasted it, and profited in the Yahudim's religion above many my equals in my own nation, being more exceedingly zealous of the traditions of my fathers. But when it pleased Elohim, who separated me from my mother's womb and called me by his grace to reveal his son in me, that I might preach him among the heathen, immediately I conferred not with flesh and blood. So notice, once he mentioned that he separated him, he mentioned that he had been chosen. And because he had been chosen, he had been called. Let's look at another individual who was chosen and called and separated. And we know Paul was faithful in what he did. Jeremiah chapter 1. I thank y'all for the word. Jeremiah chapter 1. And this is building up to something that I'm going to lead to. That's why we taking this direction. Praise y'all for it. Just throw a couple little extra ones in there, you know. Hope everybody's Shabbat be good. It's always good if you're resting in the Lord. You're resting in the Lord. Some of y'all resting in yourself. Some of you probably sleep right now. I'm going to tell you like a Mashiach told you, go ahead and take your rest. Sleep right now. Sleep with your eyes open. That's the word part. Sleep with your eyes open. But wake up out your slumber. If Mashiach give thee light, you better wake on up out your slumber. The words of Jeremiah, the son of Hilkiah, of the priests that were in Anathoth in the land of Ben-Yamin, to whom the word of Yahuwah came in the days of Josiah, the son of Ammon Malach of Yehuda, in the 13th year of his reign. It also came in the days of Jehoiakim, the son of Josiah Malach of Yehuda, unto the end of the 11th year of Zechariah, the son of Josiah Malach of Yehuda, unto the carrying away of Jerusalem captive in the 5th month. Then the word of Yahuwah came unto me, saying, before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. Before thou came forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee, and I ordained thee a prophet unto the nation. Now, I didn't pull the word for ordained, but that's just another word to appoint or to choose or to elect or to decide for. He said he chose him. Separated him. Number one, called him, separated him. Called him, separated him. Now, let's sit back and show you another instance of that. Isaiah 49. And guess what? Jeremiah entered into his house. You don't think Jeremiah got in? Jeremiah Jeremiah definitely was faithful. locked up for the word, persecuted for the word. That man said, I can't do nothing but say what Yahuwah give me to say, and I ain't going to say nothing less, and I ain't going to say nothing more. Paul, we know what happened to Paul. Shipwrecked, stoned, beaten. You know what I'm saying? He ain't never stopped with that word. They endure. All these men took on tribulation. All it did was pull them closer to the highest. That's all it did. Isaiah 49:1. Listen, O isles, unto me, and hearken ye people from far. You who have called me from the womb, from the bowels of my mother have he made mention of my name. And he has made my mouth like a sharp sword, in the shadow of his hand have he hid me, and made me a polished shaft, in his quiver have he hid me. And he said unto me, Thou art my servant, O Yasharal, in whom I will be esteemed. Then I say, I have labored in vain, I've spent my strength in naught, and in vain. Yet surely judgment is with Yahuwah, and my work is with my Elohim. And now saith Yahuwah that formed me from the womb to be his servant, to bring Jacob again to him. Though Yasharal be not gathered, yet shall I be esteemed in the eyes of Yahuwah, and my Elohim shall be my strength. Now you notice, because he said he formed him in the belly to be his servant, this is someone who he has chosen. Of course, this is a prophecy of a Mashiach. You know he was called by name from his mother's womb. She told her, hey, you're going to have a son and you're going to name his name Yahushua. We know full well that he was called, and we know full well that he was separated. Because the serious thing that we looking at, the being called, chosen, and faithful, he got to follow it too. He got to be called. Let's go ahead and read it. You just see, so you can see for yourself. He was called. He was called before he even came out the womb. Matthew chapter 1. Then we'll look at how he was separated. Then you see how that separation, you see how that works. Everybody who's going to be with Yahuwah, you got to be called, you got to be chosen, and you certainly going to be faithful. And when we talk about faithful, that's the same thing I told you, man. That's reliability. And it ain't but one shoot. It really ain't but two scenarios I can think of, really. That's either being faithful to a friend or faithful to your spouse. So you can easily understand that. Loyalty. You're riding in every shape, form, and fashion. You're going to do exactly what you said you're going to do. You're going to serve exactly how you say you're going to serve. And you serve it in accordance to your measure of faith. I pray your measure of faith be long, wide, and deep, truth be told. The breadth, depth, and the height, like Paul wrote. 1:18, Matthew. Now the birth of Yahushua HaMashiach was on this wise, when as his mother Mary was espoused to Joseph, before they came together, she was found a child of the Ruach HaKodesh. And Joseph, her husband, being a just man, not willing to make her a public example, was minded to put away privily. But while he thought on these things, behold, the Malachim of Yahuwah appeared unto him in a dream, saying, Joseph, thou son of David, fear not to take unto thee Mary thy wife, for that which conceived in her is of the Ruach HaKodesh. And she shall bring forth a son, and shall call his name Yahushua, for he shall save his people from their sins. Called from the womb. When was he separated? They sent him to Egypt. Sent him to Egypt. When was he separated again? When he was immersed and the Ruach HaKodesh fell on him. When was he separated again? Because he said, hey, I sanctified myself by the truth, that we might sanctify ourselves by the truth. Think about that. Called, separated from the womb. Romans 1.
Go get in the bed.
Romans 1:1. I'm sorry. Romans 1:1. Paul, a servant of Yahushua HaMashiach, called to be an apostle, separated unto the Basar of Elohim. So some people are separated unto the good news, or separated unto Yahusha, separated unto salvation, chosen for salvation. And when you're chosen for salvation, this will cause you to draw near unto him. And because you draw near unto him, you will dwell in his courts and you'll be satisfied with his goodness. John 6:44. Praise God for the word. That's all I can tell you. John 6:44. No man can come to me except Abba which sent me draw him, and I will raise him up at the last day. Yah has to he has to choose you to come to Hamashiach. Pause. Matthew chapter 11, verse 25. Right? I took a little different track. Praise Yah for it. That's the direction he took me in. Then what I was going to choose for people who were chosen. Because we can look at David. David definitely was chosen. He definitely was faithful. But we got to crank it up a notch. Where's I about to go? John 6. Dang, I forgot where I was going. Nevertheless, come back to John 6 till y'all willing. He bring it back to mind where I was finna go at. Shayla, you remember where I said I was finna go at? Say, no man can come to me except Abba which sent me draw him, and I'll raise him up at the last day. So no one can come. Oh, Matthew 11, verse 25. Praise the Lamb. Matthew chapter 11, verse 25. Listen what he says. At that time, Yahushua answered and said, I thank thee, O Abba, master of Shamahim and Arats, because thou hast hid these things from the wise and prudent, and hast revealed them unto babes. Even so, Abba, for it seemed good in thy sight. All things are delivered unto me of my Abba, and no man know the Son, but Abba, neither know any man Abba save the Son, and to whomsoever the Son will reveal him. So if y'all don't show it to you, you're not gonna know it. That's what we read the other day. To say this man show mercy on who he want to show mercy and compassion on who he want to show compassion on. He choose who he want to choose. He chose Jacob and not Esau. That's his prerogative. He chose Abraham. That's his prerogative. He chose Moses. That was his prerogative. That's why he say he gonna show those whom he chose and those who he called to draw near unto him. Those who he calls to draw near unto him is going to come after his son. And if they come after his son, they're going to take him on. And they're going to take along everything that came along with him. Period. You know what I'm saying? They're going to take on the persecution. They're going to take on the tribulation. They're going to take on the sufferings. They're going to take on the mercy. They're going to take on the goodness. They're going to take on the faith. They're going to take on the love of Elohim. They're going to take on the self-control. Through all these things, that's what leads to the faithfulness. See, that's why I asked y'all that last week. Not necessarily where your faith was at. Where is your faithfulness at? How well are you judged to be faithful, to be loyal to this man and what he says to do? He said, why do you call me master? Master, don't do the things that I say. You're going to be faithful. I mean, that man asked you to walk butt naked. You faithfully going to walk butt naked. That man tell you to make a cake out of dung, you gonna faithfully make it. If that man tell you to go in the midst of the temple and speak these words, then you gonna speak them. You understand? If this man tell you to lay down your life, then you gonna lay it down. And the people that I'm mentioning, I mentioned Ezekiel, I mentioned Isaiah, and I mentioned Yahushua. I'm mentioning people who this man asked to do the exact same things that I just mentioned, and they went and did them faithfully. No protesting, no complaining, straight trust and hope in Yahuwah that his will would be fulfilled. And that in the midst of that his name would be esteemed, and that possibly one soul would return. He told Ezekiel to eat dung. He told Isaiah to go butt naked. No, he didn't tell David to go naked. John chapter 6, verse 60. Look how they say Moses was faithful in all his house. Look what Moses did. We read Moses being called on Wednesday. What did Moses do? Perform every miracle, taught every line, did everything Yah told him to do, save in one matter. That's faithful. Many, therefore, of his disciples, when they heard this, said, "This is a hard saying, who can hear it?" When Yahushua knew in himself that his disciples murmured at it, he said unto them, "Doth this offend you? What and if you shall see the Son of Man ascend up to where he was before? It is the Ruach that quicken, the flesh profit nothing. The words that I speak unto you, they are Ruach and they are life. But there are some of you that believe not." For Yahushua knew from the beginning who they were that believed not and who should betray him. And he said, "Therefore said I unto you that no man can come unto me except it were given unto him of my Abba." From that time many of his disciples went back and walked no more with him. They were called, but they weren't chosen. When they showed that they weren't faithful. See, that's the difference. See, you can be called. So let's go on and get it. Matthew chapter 22. You can be called, that don't mean you chosen. Because see, if they were chosen, they wouldn't have went nowhere. Matthew 22 and 14. Well, I'm really going to have to do 22 and 1. And I'm probably going to have to, bear with me, because I'm not going to read it straight the way through. Yahushua answered and spake unto them again by parables, and said, "The kingdom of Shamahim is like unto a certain king, which made a marriage for his son. He sent forth servants to call them that were bidden to the wedding. They would not come." Now let's take a look. Isaiah 63, 65. He made a marriage, they wouldn't come. They don't want to listen. From Isaiah 65 to Matthew chapter 11. Don't want to listen. From there we go to Acts 28. He said, "I'm sought of them," Isaiah 65 and 1. "I'm sought of them that asked not for me. I'm found of them that sought me not. I said, behold me, unto a nation that was not called by my name. I've spread my hands all the day unto a rebellious people, which walk in a way that was not good after their own thoughts." So he's saying, behold me. Now, just for example's sake, we should be thinking about what character. But that man with the stretched out arms. You know what I'm saying? Because he's telling you to behold him. Same way you should have been beholding him on the stage. He's spreading his arms out to you. You're a rebellious people. You go after your own thoughts. He's calling after you. You won't come. Matthew chapter 11. That's what do we read in John 5? "Search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and they are they which testify of me, and you will not come to me that you might have life." I'm calling for you, and you won't come. Some of you niggas won't turn down a meal if a nigga hit your phone and say, "Come to the house, boy, I'm cooking." But Yahushua telling you, "Come to the house, boy, I'm cooking." And you say, "I'm straight." That's what he telling. He telling you, come to the house. You don't want to come. Matthew 11 and 12. "From the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of Shamahim suffer violence, and the violent take it by force. For all the prophets in Torah prophesied unto John. And if you will receive it, this is Elijah, which was for to come. He that hath ears to hear, let him hear. But whereunto shall I liken this generation? It is like unto children sitting in the markets and calling unto their fellows, saying, We have piped unto you, and you have not danced. And we've mourned unto you, and you have not lamented. For John came neither eating nor drinking, and they say he have a devil." Look at how these niggas act. This man chosen. He chosen from the womb. Go read Malachi chapter 3. Go read Isaiah chapter 40. Go read 1 Samuel chapter 9. This man chosen from the womb. Filled with the Ruach HaKodesh from the womb. This man ain't eat nothing but wild locusts and honey, and they said he had a devil because he told him to repent. Say the Son of Man can't eat and drink, and they say, Behold, a man gluttonous and a winebibber, a friend of publicans and sinners. But wisdom is justified to all her children. So what he telling you? You wicked niggas gonna be justified by what you want to be justified by. Because you don't know the word, and you're gonna say whatever you want to say about an individual who coming to save you, because that's gonna justify you and make you feel better in your own heart. You no good, low down, maggot bastard. Think about that. And I'm not talking about y'all specifically. We're talking about individuals who have this thought process. This man did not come eating and drinking, and they said he had a devil. Yahusha came in people's house and they sat down and they fed him and he taught them the word, and they said, this nigga's a glutton and a drunk. Anything that they could come up with to justify in their own mind and heart not to hear the word that these men were telling them so they could say themselves. I was going to go to Acts 28, but I'm going to go to Revelation chapter 3 instead. Revelation chapter 3 instead. Because he calling you to the dinner, but you don't want to eat. Revelation 3:20. He said, behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice, he calling, and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him and he with me. Come on back to Matthew 22. He say, look here, man. He say, man, I'm calling for you. If you open the door, I'll come in and you can eat with me and me with you. He said, my flesh is meat indeed. But we ain't hungry. We don't want nothing to eat. But that's not what we want. I promise our people got to be the dumbest people in the world. Because you got somebody who want to love you in a righteous fashion and you reject them. You don't go to them. You run from them. You keep them at bay. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. And we've done this from this time that I'm talking about as a people, the house of Yasharal, not mankind. Because mankind been bucking you who are from the jump street. I'm talking about Yasharal. How you got somebody who want to love you and lead you in righteousness and that ain't what you want. You run from it, you buck it, you push it away. It makes absolutely no sense. And then whine and complain when you get mistreated. Don't make sense. Verse 2, Matthew 22. The kingdom of Shamaim was like unto a certain king which made a marriage for a son and sent forth his servants to call them that were bidden to the wedding and they would not come. And again he sent forth other servants, saying, tell them which are bidden, behold, I prepared my dinner, my oxen, my fatlings are killed. All things are ready. Come unto the marriage. Like Hamashiach told us, right, it's your father's pleasure to give you the kingdom. There's nothing that you have to do. And guess what? We could go back and look in the law, but I'm going to paraphrase it for right now, for time's sake. You look in the law. You called up out of Mizraim. He said, let them come up out of into the wilderness that they may have a feast unto me. You didn't have to kill nothing. You ain't have to do nothing. All of this stuff is prepared. You wouldn't come. He told you in many places, whether it's in Ezekiel, whether it's in Jeremiah. He said, I sent prophets to them, rising up early and sending them, and they would not hear. Nehemiah told you how you hardened your neck and turned your back. Didn't want to hear it. Refused to hear it. Everything that y'all got for you is already prepared. All you got to do is hear and show up. That's all you got to do. Verse 5, but they made light of it and went their ways, one to his farm and other to his merchandise. But what you do, you pick at it, you laugh at it. It's a joke, it's a game. You skinning and grinning. You sleeping. You having conversations. You scrolling. You know what I'm saying? You go about your life fooling with unbelievers and playing around. When you hear the word, you take light of it. And you go on to whatever it is that you wanted to do. That's like when he told you in Ezekiel. He said, they hear your words, but they will not do them. Say you like one who plays this instrument, sound like a very lovely song. He said, but they'll know that a prophet's been among them at that particular point. You got to think about that, because this man talking about us. And when I say talking about us, it doesn't matter which dispensation of time it is, that's still us, because we're making light of this man's gospel. We're making light of his salvation, and then we going on to do the stuff that we want to do. But yet in the same breath, I love y'all. He ain't done with me yet. I still got work to do. Man, that junk after a while, man, it ain't no, he gonna be done with you yet because you don't believe him. You're not taking it seriously. You're taking it like it's a light matter. We have to put the what's the word I'm looking for? We have to put the idioms that we done picked up in this land from dealing with Christianity and people of the world and start moving diligently towards attaining our salvation. When you move with diligence with something, that means you move with a sense of urgency. We just had a conversation yesterday. You do not know what tomorrow gonna bring, and you keep on living like you know what tomorrow gonna bring. And truly, you an evil bastard, just like he said you are, because you truly unbelieving. And he will show you in a heartbeat that you have no power, and that you have no knowledge what tomorrow gonna bring. You know why you feel like you know what tomorrow gonna bring? Because you got complacent that every day was just like here. You went up and you went to work and. You know what I'm saying? You sent the kids to school and you did this and you did that. And it was the same thing over and over and over again. And you planned to go do this and you went and did it and you had fun and over. So that's why you believe that you know what's going to happen in 60 days and 90 days. Nigga, you don't know what's going to happen in 20 seconds. You don't know what's going to happen in 20 minutes. You don't know. You know what I'm saying? And you have to stop walking around like you do. Because you don't. You don't know what tomorrow gonna bring. And just like this man said, any such boasting is evil. It's evil. And it's evil because it's pride. Because you telling y'all what it is and what it's gonna be. As if he needs you and you not desirous and needful of his mercy and his righteousness and his compassion and his salvation. You have to change the way you think. The way you think dictate the way that you move. You think in the wrong fashion, you're going to do stupid stuff.
Come here.
Verse 6. And the remnant took his servants and entreated them spitefully and slew them. But when the king heard thereof, he was wroth and sent forth his armies and destroyed these murderers and burned up their city. Oh, you sit back and tell you, destruction of Jerusalem. Huh? Babylon, if you will. Babylon, if you will, burned it down. And guess what the Roman came and did in 70 AD? Like he told you in Ezekiel, came and took Jerusalem and burned it down because you mistreated and slew his servants who were telling you to get ready for the marriage. Then he saith he to his servants. The wedding is ready. But they which were bidden were not worthy. Go ye therefore into the highways, as many as ye shall find, and bid to the marriage. So why was his servants not worthy? Had sin on them. Had unbelief in them. So those servants went out into the highways and gathered as many as they found, both bad and good. And the wedding was furnished with guests. And when the king came in and saw the guests, he saw there a man which had not on a wedding garment. And he saith unto him, Friend, how come thou hither not having a wedding garment? And he was speechless. Then said the king to the servants, Bind ye him hand and foot, and take him away, and cast him into the outer darkness, and there shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. For many are called, but few are chosen. So you came in there, you didn't have no wedding garment, you ain't had no ruach. You heard it, you were called, but you weren't chosen. Second Thessalonians chapter 2. Second Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 11. Just think about that. Weigh that out in your mind. How that works. You call and you at the spot, but you get killed because you weren't dressed properly. And why were you not dressed properly? Because you weren't chosen to dwell here in the first place. That's what he's telling you. Many people were called unto the word, and that takes us back to what we were reading in number 16. He'll show those whom he had chosen. Many people were called up out of Mizraim, but few of them were actually chosen. Just because you hearing the word don't mean you chosen. Just because you were called to come out the world don't mean you chosen. 2 and 11. Make it 2 and 9. even him by whose coming is after the working of Hashatan with all power and signs and lying wonders, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness of them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. And for this cause Elohim shall send them a strong delusion, that they should believe a lie, that they all might be damned who believe not the truth, but have pleasure in unrighteousness. But we are bound to give thanks always to Elohim for you, brethren, beloved of the Master, because Elohim had from the beginning chosen you to salvation through sanctification of the Ruach and belief of the truth, whereunto he called you by our gospel, to the obtaining of esteem of our Master Yahushua HaMashiach. So people from the beginning had been sanctified to salvation because they already had a mind and a heart to believe the word. So that's why he called you to the gospel of Yahushua. That's why he said no man can come to Abba, come to me except Abba drawing. You can't come to Yahushua unless Abba and Shamahin draw you to him. Let's look at this point, right? Because the point of the reading of that part of those who are damned because they had a pleasure in unrighteousness and they were deceived by Satan. Revelation 13. You don't say, Shirley. You don't say. 13 and 6, Revelation 13 and 6. What you talking about, Shirley?
What's that, John 6?
Yeah, what you talking about, Shirley?
When he said I draw, that's when he said I draw him to me.
You said it twice. What's you talking about, Shirley? And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against Elohim, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle, and them that dwell in Shamahim. It was given unto him to make war with the Chesed and to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of the life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. If any man have an ear, let him hear. And if you remember from Psalms 139, when he say, all my members were written in the book. See, those who are deceived by the adversary, they may have been called to hear the gospel, but they weren't chosen. So they didn't have a heart to receive the love of the truth. Therefore, they never drew near to Yahushua. Therefore, they gonna follow the beast. And again, that's what I'm sitting here telling you. That's where it comes down to, the enmity between the woman's seed and the serpent seed. Because if you around here messing around with a carnal mind and carnal minded people in the world, you're going to be down with the beast. Play with it. I don't care how many times you done sat down and heard the word. From whoever you heard it from. It ain't got to be from me. A lot of people read the word. Whether it be right or whether it be wrong, it's still the word of Elohim, and it's going to judge you in the last day, and it's right, regardless if the individual who teaching it know what they talking about. That is grossly irrelevant at the point that I'm making right now at this moment. But nevertheless, if you ain't got a mind or heart to seek after Elohim, you will go after the beast, and you will say, who will make war with him? Who is like unto the beast? You'll refer to him like the book talk about Yah. Yah forbid that be any one of you, but Yah knows it's gonna be somebody. Just pray it ain't you. Let's shift gears for a moment. Shift gears. 1 Kings chapter 19. 1 Kings chapter 19. Matter of fact, no. Romans 11. And then we'll work our way to 1 Kings 19, because I know Romans 11 mentions 1 Kings 19. So, God know it, Shirley. What you over there talking about? Romans 11 and 1. I say then, have Elohim cast away his people? Elohim forbid. For I also am an Israelite of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. Elohim have not cast away his people which he foreknew. Wot ye not what the scripture saith of Elijah? How he make intercession to Elohim against Yasharal, saying, Yahuwah, they have killed thy prophets and digged down thy altars, and I'm left alone, and they seek my life. But what saith the answer of Elohim unto him? I have reserved to myself 7,000 men, who have not bowed the knee to the image of Baal. Even so then, at this present time also there's a remnant according to the election of grace. And if by grace, then it is no more of works, otherwise grace is no more grace. But if it be of works, then it is no more grace, otherwise work is no more work. So what does this mean? It means simple as this. The same way Yah chose some people back then by his mercy, kindness, and favor is the same way he doing it now. And it ain't based off anything that they did. It ain't no works. It's strictly off the favor, mercy, and love of Elohim towards an individual. It's just that simple. It's just that plain. 1 Kings chapter 19. Some people might not like it. Some people might feel like we're all Israel. We're all chosen. That's a lie from hell. Better go reread that law. That's a lie from hell. Everybody ain't Korah definitely wasn't chosen. Because if he were chosen, Moses wouldn't have to make that statement that Yah will show those that are his and whom he have chosen, and those who he called to draw near unto him. He wouldn't even have to make that statement. And Yahushua wouldn't have to come back around to make that statement and say, can't no man come to me except my Abba drawn. So somebody lying, and it ain't the word. It ain't the word. The word ain't lying. Just because you Yasharal don't mean you chosen. Some of Yasharal chose to die. And I ain't talking about they chose to die because they chose to die. I'm talking about they're chosen to be slaughtered. Take it how you want them. All them people in Yasharal were running after ball. Only 7,000 men wasn't dropping their knee to him. Now you let that sink in your brain. 14. We're just going to reread in the script what we just read right here, but I just wanted to come here to the spot where we had to pull the exact specific word that we're about to use. Listen what he says. And he said, I've been very jealous for Yahuwah Elohim of hosts, because the children of Yasharal have forsaken thy covenant, thrown down thy altars, and slain thy prophets with the sword. And even I only am left, and they seek my life to take it away. Just what we read in Matthew 22. I'm trying to bring them back to you. I'm trying to bring you to the marriage, and they killing me for it. And Yahuwah said unto him, go return on thy way to the wilderness of Damascus. And when thou come, anoint Hazael to be king over Syria. And Jehu, the son of Nimshi, shall thou anoint to be king over Israel. And Elisha, the son of Shaphat of Abel Melohah, shall thou anoint to be a prophet in thy room. And it shall come to pass that him that escaped the sword of Hazael shall Jehu slay. And him that escaped from the sword of Jehu shall Elisha slay. Yet I have left me 7,000 men in Yasharal, all the knees which have not bowed unto Baal, and every mouth which have not kissed him. When we look at, he said he left me, that's a word for remnant. It's sha'ar. Leftover, remainder, remnant. I don't know how many people were living in Yasharal at that time, but that's a sad state of affairs that he chose only 7,000 men. So again, many are called, few are chosen. Because guess what? Before he did all that right there, before he said all that right there, you got to remember, he had just slayed the prophets of Baal when he told the people of Yasharal, make a decision who you going to serve. If Baal be Elohim, serve him. If Yahuwah be Elohim, serve him. And the only people, and everybody in Yasharal came out, and only 7,000 men were actually chosen. Many are called, few are chosen. Y'all remember the story with Gideon. How many people came out there? A whole bunch. How many got chosen? 300. Guess what they can say? That's where them crackers got that concept from that movie. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. I doubt them white folks in Sparta at that time was studying the story of Gideon to say we're gonna go to war with 300 people though. But you never know. I don't know. That's my opinion. I'm not speaking that I know that from historical fact. So we have a Shan, the Aleph, and the Rosh. And guess what happens when you Sha'ar? Because he left you, you've been paired to the strength of the highest. See, when you his remnant, you get paired to his strength. Well, how do you get paired to his strength? Isaiah chapter 48. And after Isaiah 48, we go to Peter. And from Peter, we go to Zechariah. 13 to be exact. Hold on. Isaiah chapter 4 first. Let's look at that word Sha'ar in another place for context purposes. 4 and 2. Isaiah 4 and 2. We ain't worrying about no 7 women coming to one man. We know what that means. It definitely don't mean none of you low sex drive niggas finna get you no 7 wives, I tell you that. Ain't that right, Shirley? Shirley laughed at that. You found that funny, didn't you? It is funny. You clap your hand. Look, I'm talking about give you one of them hats. Look like this gonna whoop everybody in the church house. Look at them cheering running. Look at you look. Look at them cheering running through them pews. I'm finna take my shoe off. They need to get them little nigglets. That's what you told them. Say, Shirley, you can't be talking about the people cheering like that. The niggas be stealing my butterscotch. I seen that little bastard go in my purse. Come here, baby, let me get you. Wow, slap right upside his head. Isaiah 4 and 2. And that day shall the branch of Yahuwah be beautiful and glorious. And the fruit of the rat shall be excellent and comely for them that are escaped of Yasharal. Keep that in mind with the escaped. And it shall come to pass that he that is left in Zion and he that remain in Jerusalem shall be called Kadash, even everyone that is written among the living in Jerusalem. Well, we already looked at anybody who written in the Lamb Book of Life. They chosen. Then we look at those that remain. And when we look at those that remain, and what do we see? We see that they're paired to the strength of the chief, paired to the strength of the highest. What is his strength? His strength is your joy. Remember, we looked at joy, and joy showed us that we joyed in persecution and tribulations.
That's Sharon. And remain.
Yeah, no, remain. It's one word. That's what left me. It's in Isaiah 4. It's in 1 Kings 19. But we got another word for remnant coming around the corner.
They say your thought.
Mine don't. Mine didn't say no, your thought nowhere. Now I'm trying to remember where I was going before Zechariah 13. Oh, Isaiah 48 was where I was going. Praise the Lamb. Praise y'all for the word. That's all I can tell you. Isaiah 48. Let's pick it up at verse 4. Isaiah 48 and 4. Because I knew that thou art obstinate, and thy neck is an iron sinew, and thy brow brass. I have even from the beginning declared it unto thee. Declared it to thee before it came to pass. I showed it thee, lest thou should say, my idol have done them, and my graven image and my molten image have commanded them. Thou hast declared, see all this, and will not ye declare it? I have showed thee new things from this time, even hidden things, and thou did not know them. They are created now, not from the beginning, even before the day when thou heard them not, lest thou should say, behold, I knew them. Yea, thou heard not, yea, thou knew not. Yea, from that time thy ear was not opened, for I knew that thou would deal very treacherously and was called a transgressor from the womb. So again, this is also sitting back telling you, right, this is referring to, he didn't let the gospel be known ahead of time. We'll deal with that, y'all, willing, in greater detail at another time. But he didn't let you know ahead of time because he said you was a transgressor from the womb. I didn't show you this stuff. I didn't tell you this stuff. That take us back to what we read in Matthew, that this stuff wasn't revealed. And when he did reveal it, he revealed it unto babes, even though, because it seemed good in your sight. He said, for my name's sake will I defer my anger, and for my praise will I refrain for thee, that I cut thee not off. Behold, I have refined thee not with silver. I have chosen thee in the furnace of affliction. For my own sake, even for my own sake will I do it. For how shall my name be polluted? And I will not give my esteem unto another. So again, right this here, right? He told you that certain people, he chose them for affliction. Now, of course, this is a Mashiach. Remember what the Mashiach say, are you able to be baptized with the baptism I'm baptized with, and drink from the cup that I drink from? So we see another element of those, of his people who are chosen. They're chosen to be afflicted. That's why he said, I've chosen you out of the world, and if they persecuted me, they will persecute you. And you know, a little affliction is a little tribulation, and that tribulation going to pull you closer to the highest. Again, taking us back to the statement that the apostles made, that to stay in the faith, because through much tribulation, we must enter into the kingdom of Shamahim. You know what I'm saying? So those who have been chosen, they have to go through affliction. I was going to go, you know, 1 Peter chapter 1, Peter tell you about what? That fiery trial, which is to try you, which is more precious than gold. Ain't that what he told you? Fire made pure. Mashiach told you, I counsel you to buy gold tried of me of the fire that you might be rid. Going on through the fire. Zechariah 13. Zechariah 13 and 7, maybe. Surely, that's your hand. Zechariah 13 and 7 is sufficient. That ain't going to get you what you want. That ain't going to get you what you want. And it's not becoming of a lady. You can look at me like that all you want. Yeah, I see you smiling. Awake, O sword, against my shepherd, and against the man that is my fellow, saith Yahuwah of hosts. Smite the shepherd, and the sheep shall be scattered. And that's your head now. That is your head you hitting up against that chair. Now you're gonna hurt yourself. Now what's that gonna prove? That's not gonna prove anything. It's not gonna prove anything. That is not very wise at all, now is it? You give yourself a headache, and for what? And for what? And hand upon the little ones. And it shall come to pass that in all the land, saith Yahuwah, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the 3rd part shall be left therein. You know, that's the Israelite favorite part. He parted the 2/3. 2/3. Listen what he said though. I will bring the 3rd part through the fire and will refine them as silver is refined. So I'm going to afflict them. And I will try them as gold is tried, and they shall call on my name, and I will hear them, and I will say it is my people, and they shall say, Yahuwah is my Elohim. Well, the word for fire is Ash, and it's Aleph and Shan. So what do you end up seeing? The strength to endure in chaos. Now, we kind of looked at that last week. When you're being brought through the fire, you're going to have the strength to endure, the strength, you're going to have strength in chaos. Are you going to take your rest, Shirley? Very well then. Take your leave. When we look at what we just seen with Elijah, oh, they coming to kill me. Yah say, don't worry about it. I'm going to send you over here. I'm going to give you this here. This is the strength or the faith to in chaos. We said that Hamashiach, you get the Malachim to strengthen him. But where does your strength come from? Trust in Yah, for Yah is everlasting strength. So when you're taken through the fire, you're taken through the furnace of affliction, you get strength in chaos, because that's what tribulation is. It's chaos. Chaos is going around you. Let's look at something Masha said. John 17. That's why you got to endure tribulation. That's why he said, and let's get Acts 14:22 that I done quoted about 3-4 times. And let's just read it and see it. Acts 14:22. Look at the word that it states, the word that it uses at the beginning of this verse. Confirming. So there's confirmation. So when you're called and you go through the tribulation, this is confirming that you're chosen. It says confirming the souls of the disciples. And exhorting them to continue in the faith, that we must through much tribulation enter into the kingdom of Elohim. Much tribulation. So we know we got to go through this fire, this furnace of affliction, go through this fire so we can have strength in chaos. Strength in chaos. John 17. And there's so many examples of that. Whether if we was to look at Daniel, whether we was to look at Azariah, Hananiah, and Mishael, whether we would look at Moses, whether we was to look at Gideon, whether we were to look at David, Samuel, Jephthah. Like it says in Hebrews 11, it would fail me. Samson. We had this other day. A lot of people point the finger at Samson. Samson failed. Samson, that book don't say nothing about Samson sinning. Not nan time did it. Nigga love to say Samson sinned, didn't he? What sin did he commit? Anybody know what sin he committed? You know what sin he committed? Not now. Not now. Because the woman that he laid with, it said that it was of Yahuwah that he messed with that woman because he wanted to stir up beef between the Philistines and Yasharal. That's what it said. It didn't say he committed no sin, did it? Then when he married Delilah, he moved him to do that with Delilah for what purpose? Because at the end of the day, what happened? Yah's will was accomplished. All them Philistine niggas were dead. You know what I'm saying? And what ended up happening when all them Philistine niggas got killed? Yasharal got freed, didn't he? So what sin? Niggas, Samson fell. Fell from what? What did he do? He messed with that string. I'm going to show you that. I didn't want y'all to see that so you know that now. Come over here to Judges real quick. I didn't want you to know that. Niggas scream at Judges 14. Niggas scream that all the time.
Nigga married my son.
Niggas always scream the nigga fail. He failed. Fail from what? What did he do? You done brought a false accusation on that man. That man ain't did nothing wrong. Judges 14:1. Listen what it say. I didn't read it for you. See, that's when you got to know what the words say. You got to know what the words say, and you won't say certain stuff out your mouth. Samson went down to Timnath and saw a woman in Timnath of the daughter of the Philistines. He came up and told his father and mother and said, I've seen a woman in Timnath of the daughters of the Philistines. Now therefore go get her for me to wife. Is the Philistines one of the people that he told you not to marry? In Deuteronomy 7, is this one of the families that he told you not to marry? It is not. So it's not a violation of Deuteronomy 7. Let's look at Deuteronomy 7 so we can verify that. See, I'd like for you to know what the words say for yourself. Praise the Lamb. We open it up right onto it. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 1. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 1. Know what the words say, then you won't sit back and make assumptions or have presuppositions or go along with what you hear other people say. When Yahuwah thy Elohim shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it, and thou cast out many nations from before thee, the Hittites, the Girgashites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than thou. Now, who are all these nations? These are all the nations who were dwelling in the land of Canaan, correct? So these were all the people who were doing all the wicked stuff in the land of Canaan that he told us not to do, correct? These are the people he told you not to marry. See, a lot of people take that as stating that, okay, you can't marry like, and I'm not saying that you run out and marry somebody who's not an Israelite, but if you're going to say stuff, say it accurately according to the law and not your personal interpretation of how you feel. This is the people he told you not to marry. This was renumerated in Nehemiah. Now, of course, there's certain people, when you go look at what he told, well, we'll read it in King. I did read it. We'll read all 3 of them, just so you see it for yourself. And when Yahuwah thy Elohim shall deliver them from before thee, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, no show no mercy unto them. Neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter thou shalt not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. For they will turn away thy son from following me, that they may serve other gods. So will the anger of Yahuwah be kindled against you and destroy thee suddenly. Come to 1 Kings chapter 11. So when we see this here right here, so we can't say that him wanting the Philistine was a sin. It's not something that we was particularly smile upon, but it wasn't no sin. Let's get that out the way. Let's establish that. 1 Kings 11 and 1. But King Solomon loved many strange women, together with the daughter of Pharaoh, the women of the Moabites, the Ammonites, the Edomites, the Zidonians, and the Hittites. Of the nations concerning which Yahuwah said unto the children of Yasharal, ye shall not go in unto them, neither shall they come unto you, for they will surely turn you hard after their gods. And Solomon clave unto them these in love. And who do we see listed right there? Hittites, right? Ain't that who he told you not to fool with? Nehemiah 13. Because when he mentioned that what you just read, he said those who Yahuwah told you, you're supposed to automatically go to the law. Let me look in that and see. He didn't mention no Edomites in the law. He didn't mention Pharaoh's daughter in the law. He didn't mention those Zidonians in the law. He mentioned them 7 Canaanite nations. Don't you fool with them. Nehemiah 13. If I can get to Nehemiah 13, we might make something happen. Nehemiah chapter 13. It may so see if that's got what we want. Boom, boom, boom. Nehemiah 13. Now, of course, with Ammon and Moab, you know that come in because he told you that Ammon and Moab would never enter into the congregation of Yahuwah forever, correct? That's Deuteronomy chapter 23. That's why Moab is mentioned in 1 Kings 11, because he's supposed to know that. They can't never enter into the congregation. Why can they not enter into the congregation? Because of what the king of Moab did in Numbers, correct? He did. Well, you're supposed to know that because he tried to hire Balaam to curse Yasharal so they could kill him. This is why he told you not to fool with these people. In those days also I saw 13:23. I'm sorry, Nehemiah. In those days also saw I Yahudim that had married wives of Ashdod, of Ammon, and of Moab. And their children spake half in the speech of Ashdod, and could not speak in the Yahudim's language, but according to the language of each people. And I contended with them and cursed them, and smote certain of them, and plucked off their hair, and made them swear by Elohim, saying, you shall not give your daughters unto their sons, nor take their daughters unto your sons, or for yourselves. Did not Solomon Malach of Yasharal sin by these things? Yet among many nations was there no king like him, who was beloved of his Elohim. And Elohim made him king over all Yasharal. Nevertheless, even him did outlandish women cause to sin. So let's come back to Judges. And another note too. Solomon was called, because he was called to be king from the womb, was he not? And he was chosen to be king from the womb. And then he had a dream. Then Solomon went to sleep, and Yah called him what? By name. That's why Yah was hot with Solomon, because he appeared to him twice. He said, you out here messing with these strange hoes. I ain't telling you to mess with no strange, hey man, but if they want to serve Yah and that tickle your fancy, shoot, go and get your fancy tickled. But you know what I'm saying? I can't do it though. Not me personally. I ain't marrying no stranger. I can't do it. If I had an option of marrying a stranger and being alone, I'm gonna be alone. Cause a stranger ain't gonna do it for me. I need a black woman all day long. They the realest on the planet. Well, all of them ain't real, but yeah, you get my drift. 14:2 Judges. And he came up and told his father and mother and said, I've seen a woman of Timnath of the daughters of the Philistines. Now therefore get her for me to wife. Then his father and his mother said unto him, Is there never a woman among the daughters of thy brethren, or among all my people, that thou go take a wife of the uncircumcised Philistine? Samson said unto his father, Get her for me, for she pleased me well. But his father and his mother knew not that it was from Yahuwah that he sought occasion against the Philistines, for at that time the Philistines had dominion over Yasharal. Now, how nigga read that book and miss that? He said his parent didn't know that was Yah's doing. You know what I'm saying? Because he sought occasion to take down the people who were ruling over the people, because Samson was what? A judge, right? A judge is a deliverer and a savior. So at the end of the day, the works that Samson did was to save and deliver Yasharal, and that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. This book don't never say nan time that man transgressed by marrying this woman. That was Yah's doing for this man to marry this woman. So that was Yah's will for that man to marry that woman. And you got to remember something about Samson. He was called, he was chosen, and he was faithful. Go read Judges 13. Was he not called from the womb? Was he not chosen from the womb? They could be running their mouth, be putting their mouth on righteous people. You know what I'm saying? Straight up, though. That's why I pay to know the word, ladies and gentlemen. That's why it pays to know the word. Know what it say. Know what it say. Come on back over here to and we looking at him, how he had strength. Let's look and sit back in this pond, because we over here talking about Samson. Samson had strength in chaos. Because did they not bind Samson up so the Philistines could kill him in the 14th chapter? And yet he had strength to break those things on his arms like they came like flax, and they busted, and he smashed all of these people. Did he not kill these people with the jawbone of an ass? Do you know what I'm saying? Did these people not pluck out his eyes, and he killed more Philistines in his death than he did in his life? He had strength in chaos. He was taken through the furnace of affliction, and he came out to be faithful. But we don't even look at it in that aspect of that's what happened to him. And guess who turned on him, thought they were doing Elohim service? His own people. And a nigga sit back and look at, say, Samson sin. We can say Solomon sin because the book say that. You know what I'm saying? Book don't say Samson sin. We know he sinned somewhere in his life. You know what I'm talking about? But in this particular account of story where we reading, the book don't say nothing about Samson sinning. Don't say nothing. See, some of them will take it. He went into a harlot. Delilah, she was a harlot. Yeah, she was a whore. And he say it was no sin because he went into this whore. You know what I'm saying? Because he married this whore, did he not? And get what? Y'all used that woman to take him down. To do what? To kill the Philistines. No, all that stuff went down at the end of the day to free Yasharal. Do we have a mind to see the works of salvation? Or do we feel like salvation is supposed to go in the way that we think it should go? Because that's what that was. The only people who ever flaked on him was his own people. Delilah did what she was supposed to do. Her people say, "Don't, we got to kill this nigga. This nigga been killing us. We got to kill this nigga." Nevertheless, man, nevertheless. Let's just move on from that. Let's go to Haggai chapter 1. Let's just move on from that. I just felt like sharing. Like a little brother talked to him about that, man. He asked me a couple questions about that, man. I'm like, yeah, boy, Samson ain't really do nothing. You know what I'm saying? When he was talking, we were talking about accountability. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Samson ain't do nothing. That's the common misconception. You know what I'm saying? But Samson ain't do nothing. Not nothing that y'all didn't bring about.
He ain't go outside the way.
He didn't go outside the way. He walked right in it. His steps were ordered. Don't the book say a good man's steps ordered by Yah? He ordered them too. Go and marry that little Timnath woman. Yeah, I'm seeking occasion.
Mm.
I'm seeking occasion. I know what I'm doing. See, that's the thing. My thoughts are not like your thoughts, and my ways are not like your ways. Oh, man. I learned that book. You know how y'all operate. The chosen know. The carnal don't.
I was looking at that too, like, that boy wasn't to do what it was. If that was your will, that nigga to get put on the other.
But see, the thing is Samson ain't knowing that he got the desire for the Timnath woman for that cause.
I know, I'm just saying, he was with it regardless. He had to be.
You know what I'm saying? That man tell you, Amos 4, last verse. I declare to a man what his thought gonna be. Mm-hmm. Yeah, some of you niggas like to beat on your meat. Y'all say, yeah, I put that thought in your head. Go and stroke yourself. I'm gonna kill you, nigga. That's what you like to do anyway. You like to cheat on your wife? You like to tell lies? Come on in. I'm put that thought in your heart. You can go around there and do that. Nigga called me with that other time, man, my wife tripping, man. I think she want me to have sex with her. Well, take your stinking behind around there and get that woman what you're looking for. Talking about a nigga telling him, oh, a nigga, I can teach a man to suppress his desires. I don't want to hear that junk. Nigga, you married, you suppressing yourself from your wife, you's a faggot or you cheating. Ain't no way in the world. Nigga sit back and tell me, what? What? You gotta sit there and think about it. Nigga sit back and tell me he can lay next to a beautiful black woman day in and day out, and you talking about you ain't finna lay with her? Well, clearly you don't find that woman attractive. What you married her for? How you gonna get married and not want to have sex? That's when you're supposed to be a eunuch and stay single, son, and let another man enjoy the pleasures of that woman's flesh. You know what I'm saying? That don't make no sense. That ain't make no sense to me. You getting married, but you trying to refrain yourself from your desires. Man, get your stupid behind out of here. That makes no sense. That makes no sense. If you feeling like that, stay single. You know what I'm saying? Don't get married. Okay, you get married.
I want to get married, but I don't want no butt though.
I don't want no butt though. Come on. That ain't the number one reason you gonna do it. But you know what I'm talking about? That should be like, honestly, shoot, that should be like third or fourth on the totem pole. You know what I'm saying? There's the reasons why you gonna marry somebody, and I'm being generous with 3 or 4, because it should be about 5 or 6.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? On the totem pole on why I want to marry that person. You know what I'm talking about? Because if it's 1 or 2, you stupid. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you in the word, you stupid. And you stupid if you in the world and do it. But if you in the word and that's your number one reason, oh yeah, you stupid. You definitely carnal. You definitely ain't thinking with a spiritual mind. Ain't no way in the world. Spiritual people don't think like that. Well, I'm gonna marry this nigga so I can have sex. But he could be the dumbest nigga in the world. He could be ungodly. He could be unfaithful. She could be a loud, contentious woman, a woman who plucketh down a house and not build it up. But boy, I'm horny. Come on, man. Come on, man. But you get married, you be like, no, woman, I will not lay with you. What in the world is that? Nevertheless, niggas call me with stupid stuff all the time, man. I can't. Well, what you gonna do?
Maggie.
Huh?
You said you got a Maggie?
Yeah. Verse 12. Verse 12. Then Zerubbabel, the son of Shelathiel, Yahushua, the son of Jehozadak, the high priest, with all the remnant of the people, obeyed the voice of Yahuwah the Elohim and the words of Haggai the prophet, as Yahuwah the Elohim had sent him, and the people did fear before Yahuwah. Then spake Haggai, Yahuwah's messenger, and Yahuwah's message unto the people, saying, I am with you, saith Yahuwah. And Yahuwah stirred up the Ruach of Zerubbabel, the son of Shelathiel, the governor of Yehuda, and the Ruach of Yahushua, the son of Jehozadak, the high priest, and the Ruach of all the remnant of the people. And they came and did the work in the house of Yahuwah of hosts, their Elohim. Remnant here, right? It's Sharif. Remainder. Remnant. Shan, Aleph, Rosh, Yod, Tav. So what do we sit back and we look at that? How I'm gonna sit back and take that is that the chief's work of the covenant will pair you to strength. Let's see what that strength would be. Genesis 45 and 4. After that, Isaiah 46. And again, this is taking us back to the third that's brought through the fire. the strength in chaos. Noticing you see the thing with remnant repeatedly is that Aleph is there, so there's strength there, so there's faith there. Those people are loyal, shows that they're chosen. Goes back to that Second Thessalonians chapter 2. Those that have a belief in the truth from the beginning. That's the constant theme. Or then that's why you sit back and you look at that Bakar. Yahusha has separated you into the house. Or Abba Yahuwah has separated you into the house. The highest separates one into the house. This is what happened when you get, and that lines up with what we read in Isaiah 60, Psalm 65. It's another word for chosen, of which we haven't even read yet. We'll probably do it tomorrow. So we're approaching 2 hours. So y'all willing, that's what we'll do. But Genesis 45:4. Just hallelujah for Yahushua and his word. To give you a little bit of understanding what it is to be chosen. And these again, and this is, and we just separating it, looking at this here, based off of what we read last week in Revelation, that those that are with him are called, chosen, and faithful. So we see that, excuse me, the individuals that are with him, the second Adam gave them strength because they Korah. Then you're chosen. So the chief has separated you to enter into the house. You know what I'm saying? And we ain't got the faithful yet, so I'm not going to mention that yet. But you're a part of a remnant. That's why we read that part with kings and the Romans, because you're a remnant chosen by grace, or you're a remnant that is left behind because of he chose you. He chose you to be a part of that. Those 7,000 were a remnant. You know what I'm saying? That's why we're looking at remnant. And we seeing that, okay, this man's work, or this man's covenant is giving you strength. It's pairing you to his strength. Because we see that the chief's work of the covenant, or works of the covenant, or doing the work of the covenant, as we read earlier, that he sacrificed himself to purge your conscience from dead works, that calls you to be paired to the strength, or paired to the faith. Same way we look at the remainder that he left behind, the Shan, the Aleph, and the Rosh. Now look at yourself. You're paired to the strength of the chief. You're paired to his sacrifice. You're paired to his obedience. You're paired to his faith. This is how you're able to be a part of the remnant. That's why he say no man can come unto Abba except he draw him. No man can come unto me except Abba draw him. So Genesis 45:4. And that's why I've always told you too. I am a firm believer in this personally. From what I've seen in the text. Do you know what I'm saying? Yah draw righteous people to righteous people in whatever capacity that he want them to deal with each other in. Look how you sit back, how we seen this is what we just seen with Samson. He didn't even know that was Yah. That's because I remember a long time when somebody was like, Yah bring people together. Yes. He say what Elohim have ordained, let no man split asunder. Yeah, he bring people together. All of it for his esteem. Because we never sat back and thought about Samson marrying this Philistine woman at the end of the day was for Yah's esteem, but it was, because his name was esteemed when all the Philistines died. You better believe that. 45:3 of Genesis. And Joseph said unto his brethren, I am Joseph, do my Abba yet live? His brethren could not answer him, for they were troubled at his presence. Joseph said unto his brethren, come near to me, I pray you. And they came near, and he said, I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold into Mizraim. Now therefore be not grieved nor angry with yourselves that you sold me hither. For Elohim did send me before you to preserve life. For these 2 years have the famine been in the land, and yet there are 5 years in which there shall neither be earing nor harvest. Elohim sent me before you to preserve you a posterity in the Arats and to save your lives by great deliverance. That same word for remnant is the word for posterity. You know what I'm saying? So this is so listen what he said. Elohim sent me before you to preserve a lineage or a remnant of people. This is what he's telling you. See, what y'all thought you were doing by selling me into slavery, selling me into bondage, the same way that the people thought when they were selling him to the Romans, or selling him to the chief priest, and the chief priest turned him over to the Romans. The same thing that we were looking at in Judges, because they thought they were doing something, because he was messing with that Philistine woman, and Samson came through with that jawbone of the vase and went to murking niggas, and they joined ahead and they sold him over there to the Philistines. They thought they were doing something when the whole time it was Yah preserving life. or preserving a remnant to come out of a negative situation. So when we see that remnant, that Sharif, we see that, okay, that's the work, that's the chief's work of the covenant to pair you to strength, pair you to faith, pair you to the leader, pair you to the ox. However you want to look at it, you pair it to a Mashiach. That's why he say to leave you a posterity. The same thing he said, he left 7,000. He left a remnant according to the election of grace. The third that came through the fire, that had strength in chaos. And they'll call on Yahuwah, and Yahuwah will say, I am your Elohim, and he will hear them. The posterity, the remnant. That's what we leaving behind. And notice the key thing that we seen with that remnant in Haggai. They all heard, obeyed, and did the work. And where did they do the work at? In the house of Elohim. The whole remnant. Now remember, these are people who coming out of Babylon. The whole remnant. Come back and read that Haggai one more time. Haggai 1 and 12. Then Zerubbabel the son of Shelathiel, Yahushua the son of Jehozadak, the high priest, with all the remnant of the people, obeyed the voice of Yahuwah the Elohim and the words of Haggai the prophet, as Yahuwah the Elohim has sent him, and the people did fear before him. You see how it is? He don't believe on me, but believe on him that sent me. The same concept. Then spake Haggai, Yahuwah's messenger, the message. He said, then spake Haggai, Yahuwah's messenger, in Yahuwah's message unto the people, saying, I am with you. And Yahuwah stirred up the Ruach of Zerubbabel, the son of Shelathiel, governor of Yehuda, the Ruach of Yahushua, the son of Jehozadak, the high priest, the Ruach of all the remnant of the people, and they came and did the work in the house of Yahuwah of hosts, their Elohim. So he stirred and moved these people's spirit to do what he wanted them to do. And they all did it in the house. Or when we looking at this here, they all did it in Yahushua. They all did the work. And they were all a remnant that was elected by grace. They were chosen for it. It was nothing that they did, but they were given a heart to believe and to obey. Isaiah 46 and 1. I got to get Isaiah 46 and 1. Because that's what we're going to end it with when we talk about that posterity or that seed or a lineage. You know what I mean? Praise Yah for the word. Praise Yah for Yahushua for salvation. And that way we get the understanding of what this man came to do. And when we have that, then hopefully we will believe and obey. Isaiah 46 and 1. Baal bowed down, Nebo stooped. Their idols were upon their beasts and upon the cattle. Their carriages were heavy loading. They are a burden to the weary beast. They stoop, they bow down together. They could not deliver the burden, but themselves are gone into captivity. Hearken unto me, O house of Jacob, and all the remnant of the house of Yasharal, which are born by me from the belly, which are carried from the womb. Even to your old age I am he, even to hoar hairs will I carry you. I have made, and I will bear, and even I will carry, and will deliver you. Notice there goes that remnant again. And he said that he bore you from the belly. He bore you from the belly, and you are carried even from the womb. Now, we already mentioned Yahusha from the womb. We already mentioned Jeremiah from the womb. We already mentioned Samson from the womb. And we can throw Samuel in there as well. Do you know what I'm saying? All from the womb. But he said we were born from his belly, and that he's been carrying us from the womb. We already read in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 that some of us were sanctified to salvation for belief in the truth from the beginning. Remember Psalms 139, all my members were fashioned in the book before it was even written. But how were we born from his belly? John 16. Because I called for John 16 and 17 and we never made our way to what I want. But we're finna do it now before we get out the door. John chapter 16, verse 21. A woman, when she is in travail, have sorrow, because her hour is come. But as soon as she is delivered of the child, she remember no more the anguish for the joy that a man is born into the world. Tribulation, strength, and chaos. And you know, therefore, now you therefore have sorrow, but I will see you again, and your heart shall rejoice, and your joy no man take from you. And in that day you shall ask me nothing. Truly, truly, I say unto you, whatsoever you shall ask Abba in my name, he will give it to you. Drop down to verse 31. Yahushua answered, do you now believe? Behold, the hour come, yea, is now come, that you shall be scattered every man to his own, and you shall leave me alone. Yet I am not alone, because Abba is with me. These things have I spoken unto you, that you might have shalom. In the world you shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I've overcome the world. Why is that relevant? Because what did we just read in Isaiah 46? He talking about how he would bear you and carry you. Why would he need to bear you and carry you? Because you would have some manner of tribulation, correct? Some manner of suffering. And he said, you know what? I'm not alone. He said, in the world you'll have tribulation, but be of good cheer, because I've overcame it. See, again, that tribulation is pulling you closer to Elohim. That's why he say, in the world you shall have tribulation, but in him you'll have shalom. Well, why would you have shalom? Because the authority attached to chaos will be destroyed. Why are you going through tribulation? Because you're going through the furnace of affliction. You're going through tribulation to pull you closer to the highest, to have strength in chaos or faith in chaos. Why would you be having faith in chaos? Because you were called, so the second Adam would give you strength. Well, why would you need to have strength? Because the second Adam called you, because you have been chosen. So now the chief is separating you to enter into the house. And because of all these things, this will cause you to be faithful in the end. This will cause you to be faithful in the end. John chapter 17, verse 12. While I was with them in the world, I kept them in thy name. Those that thou gave me have I kept. None of them is lost but the son of perdition, that the scripture might be fulfilled. And now come I to thee, and these things I speak in the world, that they might have my joy fulfilled in themselves. I have given them thy word, and the world have hated them, because they are not of the world, even as I am not of the world. I pray not that thou should take them out of the world, but thou should keep them from evil. From the evil. They are not of the world, even as I am not of the world. So when you sit back and look at it, he's praying that you keep them from evil in the midst of what they're going to have to deal with, because he knows that you're going to be persecuted and suffer for his name's sake. But he said, I've borne you from the belly, and I've carried you from the womb, and I will bear you, and I will carry you, and I will save you. That's what he's telling you. You could take that to the bank. That's guaranteed. But how did he bore you from the belly? John 19. Y'all should know how he bore you from the belly. 19 and 28. Because remember, he had to leave a posterity. So that remnant, that election of grace, like a lot of stuff we're looking at the end is stuff we already looked at before we even got to it. To make this whole conversation, this whole story of what we've discussed this evening come full circle and tie itself in and on every level of the things that we discussed. After this, Yahushua, knowing that all things were now accomplished, that the scripture might be fulfilled, saith, I thirst. Now there was set a vessel full of vinegar, and they filled a sponge with vinegar, and put it upon hyssop, and put it to his mouth. When Yahushua therefore had received the vinegar, he said, it is finished, and he bowed his head and gave up the ruach. The Yahudim therefore, because it was the preparation, that the body should not remain upon the stake on Shabbat, for that Shabbat was a high day, besought Pilate that their legs might be broken, and that they might be taken away. Then came the soldiers and brake the legs of the first and of the others which crucified with him. But when they came to Yahushua and they saw he was dead already, they brake not his legs. But one of the soldiers with a spear pierced his side, and forthwith came there out blood and water. So Yahushua was sent before to preserve a posterity, like Joseph was. He was sent before his apostles. They fled from him. His people sold him into captivity in order to be able to save lives. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, and he didn't do nothing wrong in the midst of that. So now you turn around and you see that I bore you from the belly, my remnant. So the remnant of his is those that are born of Elohim. Let me see, because I need to read this in John. Come over to 1 John. So those who are born of him, I don't know that, ain't no problem. Come to 1 John chapter 5. 1 John chapter 5, verse 1. And when he's carrying you from the womb, that takes us back to what we mentioned in Thessalonians and Psalms 139. You were already chosen from your mother's womb. You were chosen from the beginning, sanctified unto the belief of the truth. And therefore, that's why he sent someone to call you to the gospel of Yahushua HaMashiach. Whosoever believes that Yahushua is Hamashiach is born of Elohim. Everyone that love him, that begot, love him also that is begotten of. So when you believe that Yahushua is the anointed one, remember, man believeth from the heart and confession come from the heart. If you believe that he's the anointed one, you believe that he's the one who was sent to die, like it says in Daniel, not for his sake, but for the people. That he will resurrect from the dead to like what we looked at Psalm 65, to purge your transgressions so that you could be chosen to enter into, to draw near unto him, to enter into his house, like we seen in Haggai. Like we already read in Revelation chapter 7, where it said all these people gathered where? To the temple, and entered into the temple and were always with him in the temple, because these were the people who washed their garments in the blood of the Lamb and came out of great tribulation, because that tribulation pulled them to Elohim. See, our biggest problem is we run from Elohim. We run from the people of Elohim, who he is. If you should always know, anybody y'all put in your path, that person is gonna pull you closer to him. They're not gonna push you further from him. If you don't have enough discernment and wisdom to know that y'all, because anybody y'all send, they gonna draw you closer to him. That's the intent of anybody that belong to him. Anybody in this book that came to anybody in any capacity who y'all sent, in whatever capacity you can think of, it was to draw that individual closer to y'all, not to push them away. We don't even have enough wisdom to see that. That's why we killed the Mashiach in the first place. That's why we hated the prophets in the first place. So clearly we didn't want to become close to Yah. That's why we despise these people. That's why we see that in Matthew 22. Verse 2 though, 1 John. By this we know that we love the children of Elohim when we love Elohim and keep his commandments. For this is the love of Elohim, that we keep his commandments. His commandments are not grievous. For whatsoever is born of Elohim overcome the world, and this is the victory that overcome the world, even our faith. Who is he that overcome the world? But he that believed that Yahushua is the son of Elohim. Because that means you would be born of him. See, hold on. Is it in chapter 3 that I want? No, it doesn't speak of being born, but nevertheless, we know that he said he gave us power to become the sons of Elohim, that were not born by the flesh, nor the will of man, but of Elohim. That's an election. If you're born, John chapter 1, if you're born of Elohim, that means he had to choose you to do that. He had to choose you to do that. You had to be chosen for that. There's nothing you can do to make yourself a son of Elohim. Because to become a son of Elohim, you got to draw near to the Son. And the only way you can draw near to the Son is if Abba draw you. And if you draw near to the Son, you will. He said, all that live godly in Yahushua HaMashiach will be persecuted. You gonna suffer. If you want the esteem and honor, that's what you're gonna be happy about. John 1 and 12. But as many as received him, to them gave he power to become the sons of Elohim, even to them that believe on his name, which were born not of blood, nor the will of the flesh, nor the will of man, but of Elohim. And we'll end it right here in 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 20. See, if you born of by Elohim, he got to choose you. He gonna call you and he gonna choose you. Because you can be called and not be chosen. But you're not gonna be called and not be chosen and faith. But put it this way, you can be called and not be chosen, but you're not going to be chosen and not be faithful. That's what I meant to say. Because you can be called and not be chosen. But if you're chosen, you're going to be faithful. That's guaranteed. Chapter 1, verse 20. Make it 18. For as much as you know that you were not redeemed with corruptible things as silver and gold from your vain conduct received by tradition from your fathers, but from the precious blood of Hamashiach, as of a lamb without blemish and without spot, who was truly foreordained before the foundation of the world, but was manifest in these last times for you, who by him do believe in Elohim that raised him up from the dead and gave him esteem, that your faith and hope might be in Elohim. Seeing you have purified your souls in obeying the truth through the Ruach unto unfeigned love of the brethren, see that you love one another with a pure heart fervently, being born again, not of corruptible seed, but of incorruptible, by the word of Elohim, which live and abide forever. So, hallelujah for Yahushua in the word. So, most of the things that we looked at towards the end, we had already looked at in the middle and in the beginning. When you sit back and you look at if you're a remnant or remained of Elohim, like we read in Revelation 7 and all those other places, then you're going to see how how Mashiach's works of the covenant is going to prepare you to the strength. When you see that you are those that he left behind as a remnant, then you see that you're going to be paired to the strength of the chief. When you sit back and you see you chosen, you see the chief is going to separate you to enter into the house. And when you sit back and see that he take you through the furnace of affliction or through that fire, you'll have strength in chaos. And we've seen all that this evening by the grace, mercy, and everlasting love of the living Elohim, whose name is Yahuwah of hosts, by way of his Son, our Savior and Redeemer, Yahushua HaMashiach. So when we look at that being chosen and we see what it is to be called, that the second Adam is going to give us strength. And it's to get us separate. It's to get us separated. And once he get it separated, he going to put his strength in you if you want his. Mm-hmm. And you see that too in a couple other places where the word remnant is used, how he said they don't do no iniquity. Same thing we see in Isaiah 4 and 3. Say if they written in Jerusalem, they don't do no iniquity. And if they written in Jerusalem, that means they were sanctified for belief in the truth from the beginning. And that's because their name were written in the Lamb's book before his body was even fashioned. But, just weigh in and consider it. Put your trust, hope in Yah, and let your election be sure, as Peter put it. Yah willing, we'll be at Pablo Creek on tomorrow. I bless everybody out of the house of Yah in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach, and love everybody. Appreciate everybody this evening. But with that being said, praise Yah indeed for the word, brother. Praise Yah indeed for the word. With that being said, I'll say good night.